I'll be telling the last story of the evening, and it is about squirrels and the woodpecker and why they don't get along. This is my friend here. He'll be joining me for the portion of the evening. So, a long time ago, the squirrels and the woodpeckers were always neighbors, even to this day. But they weren't always they weren't always the greatest to get along. They had their differences. So, in order to extend somewhat of an olive branch, the squirrels decided one day that they're going to invite the woodpecker family over for dinner. So they made a nice acorn soup, invited them over for their dinner, and the way the squirrels had their supper was a little bit different than the way the woodpeckers enjoyed their supper. Because squirrels have snouts and tongues, what they liked to do was pour their soup on the table, the flat table, and just lap it up with their tongues. And they didn't think too much about how the woodpeckers would enjoy their supper, right? So, supper time happens, the woodpeckers come over, and they're all, hungry and starving, and they're really excited for dinner. Okay. And here comes the squirrel, he dumps the soup all over the table, and the woodpeckers are just so confused, because how are they going to eat it? They have their beaks in the way. So they're turning their heads, they're trying, and it's not working. So they got really upset with the squirrels. They weren't very considerate about their dietary needs. So the woodpeckers were pretty upset, and then they ended up going home, having a little fit. Thank you. Also, the squirrels thought it was funny, and they didn't really apologize for what happened. So the woodpecker family went home, and then they discussed amongst themselves, well, that's not nice, but maybe we should return the favor. So the woodpeckers thought, we'll have supper, and we'll invite the squirrel family over and show them how we eat. So all of a sudden, the woodpecker family flies over to the squirrel's tree and says, we'd like to have you over for supper, your turn. Please join us. So the woodpeckers also make soup, except their table's a bit different. They made holes in their table, sort of like bowls for their beaks to kind of, go in there and be able to drink out the soup like straws. So here they are, the woodpecker family. They come, they pour the soup inside the table holes, and here are the squirrels wondering, how do we eat this? So they're trying to copy what the woodpeckers are doing, except they're falling inside the bowl. And they're all covered in soup, and they're so humiliated, and the woodpeckers are just laughing. And that didn't result in a happy dinner. So every time you hear in the bush, that's the squirrels and the woodpeckers still fighting about the way supper went that night. And that's why they don't get along to this day. Kitchimigwech. I hope you enjoyed our evening here at Ottawa and our fabulous stories and wonderful storytellers.